Got this 372 back on the bench here, and we're pretty well ready to go. One of the things about these clamps is that they really need to go under the boot. They do fit in this area here. I've got a new impulse line on here, just in case that was the issue. I don't think it was. It was this particular. It was the boot. That was no good. It was ripped. Now we got to cinch this down fully. A little bit of blue Loctite on here. Double, triple, quadruple check that the boot does not have any rips. That's where we had the problem. The other one we throw out. Okay. Got to get the piston on. These circlips are going to be a bit of a pain because they don't have ears to them. Great. A lot of guys want to use OEM clips, and you know, at least to a point I agree with that. Usually I use what comes with the piston here, and I like to put the PTO side in first, just because it's harder to get to when you got the piston on. You really only want to go after the end of the clip because you don't want to spring the whole thing too much. There we go. And then give her a push. Click. Should seat in there nice. Wrist pin bearing is in there. This is a pop-up, of course, but the arrow goes to the exhaust. Wrist pin in. Now the tricky part is getting this one in. Long pliers, grab from the other side on the piston and grab on the end of the clip. Torque it on down and start working her in. And then push. Click. That's it. That's in. Now the nice thing about the Meteors is they got this little space here. You can dig something in there if you need to really get them out. Clean off our surfaces. Make sure there's no oils on here. Dirt, debris, whatever. Same thing on the cylinder head. So I've trued up the base on this a little bit. And it's not perfect, but it's better than it was. Let's put a little blue Loctite down these. Now we're going to get out our 1184. I've got a, before I do that, I've got this gasket that I made, just a paper gasket, and overall it was because the other one was a little too thick. The squish was a little too, yeah, it's 12 thousandths thick. So the squish was about 30 thousandths with the other gasket. So we're going to tighten that down a little bit. It's not going to be completely tight, but it should be pretty good. Let's try this again. That didn't work. Had a head slapper. Little Loctite down the holes. The reason for the head slapper was because right at the edge of the squish band, towards the outer wall, was too much of a lip. So the piston right at its edges is pretty sharp now because, well, that's what happens after you cut it on the lathe. So if there's any lip that in the cylinder head right at this outer edge, then you end up well, having a head slapper. Even though the squish is good, right now I got like 23,000 squish, which will work just fine. But even though the squish is good, it's still not good enough. So I'm coating everything here again. Get your intake boot lined up and cinch it on down. Probably want this tag pointing the same direction as the AV mount. Take our gasket. Place it just where you want it. 1184 seems pretty even, no excess, no debris. Put the diagonal bolts in first. Put them into light torque. Before I cinch them completely down, that feels better. So before we cinch it completely down, squish is like 23. Alright, double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feels nice and smooth. So squish is about 23 thousandths. That's perfect. Well, it's 3 thousandths off of perfect, but I'll take it. So I'm going to let this sit and cure for a little bit, and then we'll do a pressure test. Got a leak right at the base gasket here. Got to do it again. Third try. See, I'm thinking that this 1184 stuff works just fine. But the gasket material here, this paper, is not cutting it. That's what I'm thinking. So what I might just do is sacrifice having an optimal squish here for having a more reliable seal. And of course it's just plain old annoying to have to peel this stuff off time and again. Oh well. Got it down to bare metal again. So third try, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say no sealer at all. Let's see what happens. Bare metal here. Bare metal, clean metal here. OEM base gasket. So let's see how this goes. Make sure there's no oils or grease or dirt. Blue Loctite in the holes. 1184 so you can't see the metal. Okay, so this is tacked up a little bit. Let's put the base gasket on. Everything's clean inside there. So now we can put this down again for the 13th time. Grease on your driver. You can hear a little bit out of the decompression valve. So let's take that out of the equation, at least for now. Doesn't hurt to remove this and clean it and give it a good once over. Okay, decompression valve is out. There's a plug in there now. Does it hold vacuum? Because before it wouldn't hold vacuum. And that's where you're concerned, like the seals and whatnot. What you can do also is move your crank around here a little bit. Move it through the cycle. And you'll see this go up and down a bit. But it should always come back to the same spot. I would call that pretty darn good. Certainly better than what we started with. So I'm going to dunk this and see where that leads us. Just take and dunk it in a bucket of water, that's all. Then you can see if there's any other leak, if you find any other bubbles, obviously you take care of that. That didn't quite hold. It's closer, but it didn't hold. Again, clean surfaces. Super thin layer of sealer. Same thing on the cylinder head. Only this time, I'm going to seal the gasket too. Just making sure both sides of the gasket are coated. Let's see if this wants to play nice. Probably so much thread locker on these now I don't have to worry about it. Go diagonal on tightening. Even tightening. Of course, none of this really helped me before. I'm actually going to let this sit overnight now and see if tomorrow, because I'm not going to play this anymore today anyway. Got to see tomorrow if this actually held or not. I'd be pretty upset if it didn't.